Hi everyone, and welcome to this chapter of the Free Full Stack course. In this chapter, we're going to install Android Studio and Android SDK on Ubuntu. As you know, for the entirety of this course, when it comes to Linux, I'm going with Ubuntu, but the instructions provided here should kind of also work with other distributions of Linux. For instance, if you're using Fedora, they could differ a little bit, and we're not going to go into details of all these steps that you have to take maybe on other distributions of Linux, but I'll provide the instructions that work on Ubuntu, and hopefully you can figure out how to then apply the same instructions on your favorite distribution. Android Studio requires Java, and that's regardless of which operating system you're running Android Studio on. So it's very important that you have actually Java installed on your computer. So what we're going to do in this chapter is first going to go ahead and ensure that JRE, which is Java Runtime Environment, and then the JDK is also installed, which is our Java Development Kit. These two need to be installed on your computer before you can actually install Android Studio. And my favorite way of installing Android Studio is actually using apt on Ubuntu, but some people may actually prefer to use the software installer on Ubuntu to install Android Studio, and that might also work fine. But I'm going to show you the apt way, and we're going to do all that in the terminal in this chapter. So let me do some screen reshuffling here, and then we can get actually started by going to our terminal in here. And the first thing you want to do is just to ensure that you have Java installed. So I've already installed Java. So if I type Java version in here, I can actually see which JDK I'm using in here. However, if you haven't installed Android Studio before, which is I think the reason that you're in this chapter, then by issuing this command of Java space -- version, you may get an error on the screen saying that Java is not a recognized command. And if that's the case, then you should be able to follow along with the steps that are coming here in order to install JDK and JRE on your computer so that you get Java. So let's go ahead first and install JRE. And you can see at the bottom of the screen, we should say sudo apt install, and then we're going to say default JRE. I'm going to provide my password in here. And I can see now that JRE is installed successfully on my computer. If you haven't installed JRE from before, this process could actually take a little bit longer. So the reason it went so fast on my computer is because I've already installed JRE from before. But if you just issue this command, sudo apt install default JRE, you should be able to continue with through to the next step. After installing JRE, we also have to install our JDK, which is the Java Development Kit. So let's change this command from sudo apt install default JRE to default JDK, and we're going to do that. Now it's going to do its installation. Great stuff. Now, after you've done this, then you should actually have Java installed successfully on your Linux distribution. So let's go in here and clear the screen. And then I'm going to go in here and then say Java version. And also then you can run Java C, which is a Java compiler, and say Java C version. And you can see that that is also installed on this computer successfully. After doing all of this, when you have Java successfully installed on your computer, you can go ahead and actually start installing Android Studio. Now, my favorite way of doing that is using apt. And as I said before, maybe you just want to use the software downloader and installer on Ubuntu to install Android Studio. But my favorite way, and the way that I'm going to teach you in this chapter, is using apt. So let's add the repository required for installing Android Studio first. So let's just say, which is this command, as you can see in here, sudo add-apt-repository, and then you need to add the repository that I've provided for you at the bottom of the screen. So you can pause this video if you want to, and go ahead and add this repository to apt. So, all right, press enter to continue control C, adding it. Okay, then I'm going to add this repository in here, and this is done now. So that went really fast. So this repository is now added. And then what you want to do is to, of course, update your repository. So sudo apt update. And that's also done. All right. And after doing that, then you're going to install Android Studio. So you say sudo apt install Android Studio, as shown in here. And I've already done this before. That's why this process went really fast. If you've not, I actually remember when I had installed Android Studio from before, and when I issued this command, it took a very long time. I'm talking about a few minutes actually. So go ahead, please, and now install Android Studio on your computer with the command that I provided for you at the bottom of the screen, or you can just look here, sudo apt install Android Studio. And for you to be able to do this, you should actually have followed all the steps chronologically up to this point so that you've added the required repository as well. If you jump over adding the repository, then Android Studio won't actually be found in the default repository for apt. Okay, so after installing Android Studio, we should now be able to open it up. So I'm just going to close this terminal window and then going to say Android Studio. I can see that is installed here. So let's just open up Android Studio. And you should be presented with a screen similar to that, which you can see right here. So let's go in here to our settings. And we should actually, before we do that, we should go ahead, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, we're going to go ahead to the SDK manager because there are a few components that we need to install. So let's go to more actions, as you can see in here. Okay. And then click on SDK manager. After you go to SDK Manager, what we're going to do is to go ahead and install a few tools. So let's go to SDK Tools, which is the second tab, at least on my installation of Android Studio, and I believe it's the same thing on Windows and Mac OS. And then what you need to do is just to go ahead and install Android SDK Build Tools. So let's just find Android SDK Build Tools in here and see if we can actually find it. Android SDK build tools right here. So I can see, there are a few, these checkboxes can have three states. One is completely empty, like this one, meaning that this component is not installed. Then there's another state for this checkbox, which is checked, which means that this component is installed and is updated, which means it has the latest version. And then there is a third state of this little minus thing in this checkbox, meaning that this component has been installed from before, but it's not the latest version. And that's why we can see this update available in here. So if you see that state for the checkbox, just click on it one more time. And then I'm going to press the apply button and then the OK button. So that's going to install the latest version of that particular component for me in here. Okay. After installing the Android SDK build tools, you need to install Android SDK command line tools as well. So I can see that it is right here, Android SDK command line tools, as you can see on the screen. So I don't have to install it, but for you, you may have to tick this box and then press the apply button at the bottom of the screen in order to install the Android SDK command line tools as well. While we're here, we're also going to install the Android Emulator as well. Very, very important, because if we're using an Android emulator for Flutter development in the later chapters, then you need to have this component installed. As you can see, I already have this component installed, so I don't have to do anything. But if you don't have it installed, please just check this checkbox and then press the apply button. So off you go. And last but not least, we also have to install the SDK platform tools. And they're right here at the moment, I can see, and there is a check mark next to it, meaning that it is installed and it has the latest version. You may either have no checkboxes in here, check marks in here, or you may actually have that minus icon in here. In that case, just please click this checkbox in here and then press the apply button and follow the instructions in order to install Android SDK platform tools. Okay. So now that we've done all of that, it is time to actually create a new emulator. So I'm just going to press the OK button in here. Okay. So let's go to more actions. As you can see in here, then press the virtual device manager. Okay. So you can see that I already have a little emulator created in here. Okay. So what we could do is to press the create device. I'm assuming that you don't have an emulator already set up. So we could actually start with that. Let's just delete this so that I'm at the same stage that you are. So let's just increase the size of the screen and then press the create device button, please. Let's choose phone from the left-hand side, and I'm just going to say Pixel 5. All right. Then let's press the next button in here. Okay. And then I can in here actually see that I have API level 32, which is pretty good. On Mac, we actually used API level 31, which is the SDK in here. but we could either say download. So we could actually download this as well if you want to. So we're actually using the same SDK on both macOS and Linux, and then later Windows. Or you could go ahead and use the SV2 in here. But I'm going to just go ahead and let my system install this SDK S in here and let us do its work. And once it's done, then we can continue creating our emulator. I can now see that this system image has been downloaded. So I'm just going to press the finish button. And I'm then going to select S in the list and then press the next button. And I'm going to leave all these components as they're selected right here. So I'm just going to press the finish button right there. And you can see now I have an x86-64 system image for this emulator created. And I can actually start the emulator if I want to, but that's not really required for this chapter. All that was important was for us to install Java and then be able to install Android Studio, which then takes with it the Android SDK, and then be able to create an emulator. Okay, so that was really it for this chapter. There's not much more to talk about, so I'll see you in the next one.